It is day 6 of trying to trade up a water energy up to $10,000 in Pokemon cards. We have made some great progress so far, averaging about $100 per day. Based on that trend, I was hoping we could at least hit 600 today. If you haven't seen the other days yet, go check out my trade up playlist because that is where you can stay up to date with everything trade up. As always, I try to include the social for vendors and anyone else who trades with me during the trade days, so check the description if you want to support them. So we start by getting the lay of the land. I was worried because it was really rainy today and I thought maybe less vendors and traders would come, but I was wrong, as you will soon see. As soon as I entered the building, I noticed a new vendor right at the entrance, and he had some really nice cards, so I thought maybe this is a chance to get a little trade going, a little trade action, and I was right. He wanted to help with the challenge, so it was just a matter of finding a good trade for both of us. After some more negotiating, we decided to trade my Calyrex for his Umbreon and Palkia. Now let me give you my thought process on that. I've noticed a lot of vendors have Calyrex, and they don't seem to be as easy to trade as I thought they would be. However, evolutions generally are super easy to trade with both adults and kids. Palkia is a great card as well, so I figured they would give me a little bit more trading power down the line. After we finished the trade, a little kid came up to me. He's really important for today because he was helping me out. He wanted my Pikachu from Crown Zenith. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any cards that could match the value or came close enough even if it was, a little bit less. This kid was trying to collect Pikachus and Charizards, so he was persistent in trying to trade with me since I had both. I just want y'all to appreciate his binder because it's just so nice, and luckily he let me record some footage of me just flipping through it, so here it is. Next up, we came to a vendor I've seen before. He usually has some really nice cards and slabs, and I thought maybe I could trade my Charizard to him. Because we've had this Charizard for a while, it's worth quite a bit, and it's been a bit of a pain to trade, so I was really hoping this might be my opportunity to trade. I was honest with him and told him that the Charizard was valued at about $220, but I had offers as high as $325 in cash and trade value. Issue was that I'm not really looking for cash, and the trade offers would have split the value over 7 or more cards, which would just be a lot to deal with, honestly. So I was looking for about $300 minimum, split no more than 2 cards. He offered a Zeraora and Rayquaza that equaled around $275, but the issue I had was that the Rayquaza was in Japanese. I've noticed I struggle to trade Japanese cards with vendors and didn't know if such a large investment would pay off. So I decided I would think about it and come back, but unfortunately I did end up deciding not to trade for it. Next, I ran into someone who saw my GoPro and was interested in Dr. Pokemon channel and wanted to join our Pokemon family. And funny enough, he was actually already a follower. If you ever run into me in real life, please make sure to let me know. I love giving shoutouts and I'll 100% try to give you one in any of my videos that I happen to see you in. Next up, I saw my boy Taylor. He didn't have as much Pokemon today, but as always, I gotta say hi when I can. After saying hi to Taylor, I actually ran into Darrell. If you remember, he was a major help earlier in the trade-up challenge. He really hooked me up. This time though, he was a vendor with one of his friends. First things first, I had to show Darrell my progress. Then, I had to see if I could get a trade going. Luckily, his friend was interested in some of my vintage cards and traded my Scizor for a Giratina, Mewtwo, and a Shining Rayquaza. He did tell me the Shining Rayquaza had a small defect on it, but I was pretty confident I could trade it regardless. To be honest, I've been having trouble trading some of my vintage cards, not just today but in the past, but I was lucky because a couple came up to me and were interested in the vintage cards, the exact cards that I've been struggling to get rid of. I went through their amazing trade binder and decided to trade my Kangaskhan, Brock's Ninetale, and Mewtwo for their Dark Tyranitar and Charizard. The Charizard was not in the best condition, but Charizards are pretty easy to trade, and I really needed to offload some of my vintage cards, so that seemed like a good trade to me. And you're gonna notice I keep getting Tyranitars today. I don't know what it is, just for some reason they keep pulling me in and I keep wanting them even more. Next up, I went to go talk to one of the vendors, my friend Ali. I usually see him at pretty much every card show I go to, which, is pretty funny. But as I was talking to Ollie, a kid came up and asked if I would give him something for all of his cards. He wasn't really interested in Pokemon whatsoever, and these were cards he had a long time ago. They weren't in really good condition, but he pretty much just wanted to trade all of them for a single card just to make it a little easier on himself. As I already said though, some of these cards are just in really bad condition, and I was really worried. Some of them were not sleeved at all, some just had huge creases, and I didn't really know how to evaluate them and figure out if it would be worth trading for. So I just asked him, what card would you want for all of these? And he said he was fine with just getting the Umbreon, so I figured maybe I could do something with these cards, so why not? And I know for him the Umbreon would probably be an easier sell, because that was his ultimate goal, was just to sell his Pokemon cards and kind of get rid of what he had here. Next up, I went back to Darrell's friend and decided to ask if he might be interested in my Dark Tyranitar. He said I could take his Umbreon, which is funny since I just traded one away, and I always like to keep some evolutions. Maybe I should do a trade challenge for just evolutions at some point. Let me know what you think about that. After that, I had to talk to Darrell. We hadn't gotten a chance to trade yet because, he was just flocked. Everyone wanted his cards, everyone wanted his friends' cards, so there was no moment for him to breathe. But I was able to squeeze in there just for a moment, and luckily he's always willing to help. He was actually interested in some of the damage cards I got, but he had to see how much they'd be worth based on their condition, which of course is totally fair. And as Darrell was looking that up, I was surprised. The kid from earlier wanted to make some new trades because he just acquired some new cards. And he really wanted my Charizard. I was a bit surprised because he wanted to give me his new cards for the Charizards. Again, surprised because, it wasn't really worth much. And I knew he liked Charizards, but he felt like switching up his binder some more in the hopes of getting another trade. And since I didn't get it on footage, he also, at some point, just gave me a couple random cards that he didn't want. They weren't worth anything, but I still appreciate it. And yeah, it was just a really interesting interaction with him all day. Next up, traded my beautiful Pikachu for 2 rainbows, because again, I figured they'd be easy to trade down the line. Rainbows are generally a really easy trade, and that Pikachu has been really wanted, but I haven't been able to find anything that I really wanted in exchange, so this kind of worked out for me. And of course, I had to circle back to Darrell. He showed me that he could offer quite a bit for these cards, and he wanted to add more value, because that's just how Darrell is. He wants to help out. So at the end of this, I actually got really good cards, 2 really good cards, a Leafeon and a Mewtwo, in exchange for just a handful of cards that I knew were going to be trouble down the line. And as if it was magic, Lil Man came back once again. He wanted my Pidgeot GX and gave me a couple cards he just got himself. Again, I was happy to oblige, but I felt like I needed to give him more. He just, for some reason, didn't want more. I guess he wanted to help with the trade-up challenge, but still, I felt bad, but he just refused to take anything extra. At this point, I had actually already left and stopped by a local card shop as I was just headed out of town. And I'm kind of glad I did. To my surprise, they were doing a trade day, and I managed to get a few more deals in. First little dude I talked to had a nice binder. You know me, I like to show off the amazing cards people have. Unfortunately, the cards he wanted were a little too expensive, and I couldn't find anything nearly that value. But at that point, another kid was waiting and wanted to see what I'd trade him, so we went on and tried to see what we could do. After a lot of searching, we decided to trade my Heracross for his Garchomp. I 100% knew this Garchomp would be a lot easier for me to trade down the line, because it's a Garchomp, everyone loves Garchomp, and it just looked beautiful. So I was really happy with this trade. Our next little buddy was really attached to his cards, which is totally understandable. I was too. So we had to see where I could make some wiggle room for him. I wanted to keep to around the overall value pretty low that I got from him, but I didn't really want to give away some of the lower value cards, so we ended up having to go with some of the big hitters. He wanted my Arceus V-Star to match one he already had. In exchange, he gave me a Trainer, Aerodactyl, and a Tyranitar. Someone needs to tell me how many Tyranitars I've had today, because I keep trading for them. I really like Tyranitar, so I end up impulsively just trading for more and more, which is a good problem to have. As I was debating if I should leave, someone told me that this dude named Alex had a lot of cards and he might be able to work out a trade. He gave some great offers, but I was struggling to decide. In the end, I gave him my Mewtwo for another Calyrex, an Unknown V, and an EV promo, which I actually had before in a PSA graded, which traded pretty easily, so I had hopes for this one as well. Then I decided to hop back into the fray and met Mitchell. He was super nice and he was a big Mewtwo collector. Lucky for me, I had a lot of Mewtwo still. He decided on 2 of my Mewtwo's in exchange for his Drapion, Radiant Charizard, Giratina, and his Espeon. Again, I need y'all to tell me how many evolutions I've had today because I was just rolling with them. They were just coming and going constantly. I also really want to thank Mitchell because the Espeon was out of his personal collection, so he didn't want to part with it, but at the same time he wanted to help me out. So again, thank you for the trade. And as I was leaving the store, I ran into a trader I met a long time back. He and I traded my Eevee and Mewtwo slabs for his Flareon slabs. I figured it might be worth seeing if I can get some more slabs from him since I was getting a bit light on them. He decided he wanted my Giratina, Drapion, and Leafeon in exchange for his Dialga, Mew, and Pikachu slabs, all PSA 9. I knew these would really sharpen my arsenal, so I was pumped. Day 6 was just super packed today, and a lot of trades happened. So let me go and tell you what our total was at the end of day 6.